Well, we should be live again. Hey, you know what I did today? Besides shopping for brisket
What
with my
did you
wife?
do today besides that? Yeah.
Yeah, I saved 800 and something dollars a year. Let me tell you this quick little story while folks are joining in, because this
What?
may help some people out.
Wait a minute. You. Okay. We're gonna have to go back. I don't know what it is, lag or whatever. But 800 what a year? You spent
800,
800 or
no, I
you
actually
got?
saved $800 a year. And you'll never guess in what,
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Do tell.
yeah. So Um, for many years, I've subscribed to the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite. I will make this tech story relatively short, so everybody bear with me for about a minute or two. So, in the old days, you had to buy Adobe software, which was really expensive for all the software. I mean, we're talking on the order of $2,000 or $3,000, and if you upgrade every couple of years, it's a pretty good expense. And so, when Adobe came out with their subscription model, which is you pay a monthly fee and you get all of their software. I mean, there's different tiers, but to get all of it, it was like started out like $50 a month for everything they had. Well, I put my pirate ship up and subscribed to Adobe. And so all these years I've been very happy with it. When I do our thumbnails and graphics and stuff like that, I use Photoshop, Illustrator to do the logos, all that sort of stuff. And all these years I've been very happy and still happy with Adobe software. The problem is it's now $80 a month for the full subscription. $80 a month. Now, a lot of people are mad because Adobe has integrated a lot of AI and all that. I don't really care about that. I actually like the AI stuff, but $80 a month. Well, a company called Affinity has had an Adobe competitor for a couple of years. Make a long story short, it was about $200. You just pay for the license. Canva bought it, and Canva has released Affinity for free. So I was like, you know what? It's time for me to ditch Adobe. All I got to do is get over here in Affinity and play around a little bit, find another piece of PDF software to edit PDFs with, which I found. And instead of spending bumping $900 a year, I'm now spending less than 100. Well, actually, about 150 by the time I'm done.
Now taking a selfless uh, stroll towards complimenting my wife here, and her being able to get one up on the tech extraordinaire that you are. She's been a big Canva person for a long time, so she will enjoy the fact that Rex is following behind her footsteps and going down the road of Canva in a weird
Well,
sort of way.
yeah, to be clear, I mean I've known about Canva since its inception and have used it once in a while for stuff, but Affinity is serious software on the order of Photoshop and Illustrator, as well as kind of InDesign too. But Canva, excuse me, made the wise move to purchase Affinity. A lot of people were worried about that, and because
Yeah,
Affinity, they made a big announcement a couple of months ago, and I promise, folks, we'll get out of Geekville here in a minute and get into politics. But they made a big announcement. It was a big hoopla, and their big announcement was they're giving away no strings attached the software for free. Now, if you want the AI features, then they encourage you to subscribe to Canva, which is $20 a month or something like that. So I honestly will probably do it a few months just to donate to the cause based on the amount of money I'm saving. But Affinity is seriously good software. And so between that, DaVinci Resolve, and then I also use Final Cut for video editing, and I've got my Mac does PDFs, but I've got some other PDF software that's a little more advanced. But again, I'm saving about $800 a year, so I'm kind of happy about that. That'll, you know, help with the apparent
yeah.
transmission issues I have.
That is a good point. And folks that are watching the show, it seems like there's a lot of things that are changing and all of us have to be, up to speed and on the changes that are coming down the road. There's changes in investments. There's changes in monetary policy. There's tons of change. Everything is changing. And I would contend that right now, this point in time, there might be the most consequential changes that have happened I think in even my lifetime. I'm surprised to say that. I didn't think that when I got to my age and at this point in my life, I'd be saying that the most consequential changes are happening. I mean, I thought when an Atari came out, which was the first game thing, I thought that was the most consequential time, but it's not. All of these software and the advent of AI, everything is changing. I mean, in the blink of an eye for all of us. And you're either trying to kind of keep up a little bit, like you are way advanced, just like Canva. I couldn't have told you what it was, but listening to Kara and listening to you, who y'all both are into the tech thing, y'all, that is y'all's deal. I know just enough. Well, but that puts me ahead of a majority of the population who couldn't even tell you that or know that Canva is of importance, in any way,
Right.
shape, form, or fashion. So, people are at different levels and the world is changing around you and changing at light speed. Did you know that, like, something happened today that has only ever happened one time in history?
Hmm.
Y'all
Um,
watching? Can anybody name it?
um,
Maybe this will be the trivia for this show.
Tommy said something that wasn't completely boring. I don't know.
No.
Oh.
Silver was valued at more than a barrel of oil.
Oh. So the peak oil theory has just been a hoax all these decades. I was
It has
taught peak
evaporated
oil
overnight.
I was taught peak oil theory in elementary school. And then fast forward, my kids came home one day when they were in elementary school. They were going to Waller Elementary. Dad, what is peak oil? I said, what? Where did you hear about peak oil? That's pretty much been, classified as, well, our teacher was telling us about peak oil. I said, well, here's what you go back and tell your teacher. And so that didn't go over real well. But anyway, no, I did not know that silver had surpassed the dead dinosaurs.
Yeah, it's only ever done that one time before, which I haven't had time to kind of look it up. It was of interest to me, but it was in the 70s. I would suspect maybe Carter era, maybe something like that. But yeah, today supposedly it surpassed a barrel of oil for only the second time in history. Um,
Hmm.
China, I mean, not China, Japan. Japan is making moves regarding the yen. I mean, look, we're not turning this into a tech or a financial show, but there are weird things happening historically, like Japan, for example, holds over 1 trillion in US bonds, like our debt or what have you.
Yeah.
And they have ran the yen at 0% interest rate, and they are uh, uh, increasing like their interest rate for like one of the first times ever. It's not the first time ever. It's like the fourth time ever. Three times before, and it's the era of Bitcoin. This is of interest to you.
Mm-hmm.
Every time that they increase that interest rate or pay dividends on the yen or what have you, Bitcoin dropped by 24 to 30%. They're fixing to do, as I appreciate it, 75% tomorrow is the vote that they vote to do it. The
Hmm.
the dropping of the value of Bitcoin, which I'm sure you've noticed, and
Right. Oh, yeah.
cryptocurrencies,
Yeah.
and the stock market was way off today, and that's all because of everybody's on pins and needles of what Japan is going to do, um, which will be tomorrow. So things are changing around us. Trump just, and I don't understand all of it, the geopolitics of it. Trump just literally, what like the Cuban Missile Crisis, when we put ships all the way around it to prevent anything from coming or going. They just did that with Venezuela. You
Right.
know, there's a
It,
lot happening here.
yeah, except Trump's actually, well, we talked about it before, and it's not really new news. It's a little bit dated for a couple of weeks, but we're actually blowing up ships. Who knew that? Who knew that our military could blow up fishing boats?
Well, wait a minute.
Uh,
They're not fishing boats if they ain't got fish on there.
they're fishing boats, Duke. All the liberals said they're fishing boats, so they must be. Anyway, I thought you were going to mention
Well,
Trump's offhanded comments at Meathead, which I shouldn't speak ill of somebody that got brutally murdered by their son. That's a whole other story, but still.
look, if nobody knows it yet about Trump, he doesn't give a damn if you're alive or if you're dead. He's going to say what he thinks. That's why we all voted for him.
That's right.
We,
I've always said, he can run naked across the White House lawn with a entourage of hookers behind him for all I care, as long as his Supreme Court picks are good and his judiciary picks are good. And so far, they've been spot on, and we've had lots of good Second Amendment decisions giving us back many of the rights that have been stripped from us as Americans. I don't care what he does otherwise. Anyway, so, all right. So we're sitting here rambling. Folks, if you hadn't noticed, it has not been a busy political week in the good city of Bossier City, but we had to have something to talk about. So now that we've got about 30-something people watching, and we've got a lot of good comments starting to show up, people letting us know they're there, what are we going to talk about this week? I mean, do we have anything
well,
in particular?
yeah, I mean, Bossier City, you may have noticed they had a council meeting today. I mean, it's like so boring in Bossier these days.
Well, it is, but don't forget, as promised, after the last show we had, which was Thursday night, actually, I did post that hypothetical leaked memo. Listen to how I'm saying that, folks. Hypothetical leaked memo from the city attorney's office. And that got some pretty good traction. As a matter of fact, it is now sitting at, hold on, and I will pull up the total right here. It is now sitting at, well, why can't I see the views? Well, it's sitting at, I don't know, somewhere over, well over 13 or 14,000 views.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's solid. I mean, people are paying attention. I mean, I had somebody today ask me, were we going to talk about the hotel situation? And I was like, did you not watch last week's show? And they were like, oh, I watched part of it. Did y'all talk about it? I said, well, obviously you didn't watch that part. You go back and
Gotta go,
watch it again.
gotta go back and watch it again. It's like I was asked if we were going to talk about the new fire chief pick, and I told somebody in the text message they needed to tune in about 7 o'clock and find out.
I told them I thought Brad was a great choice, and they were like, Brad, who's or
Bachhaus.
yeah, Brad, and
Yeah.
they was like, wait a minute, his name's not Brad, and I said, well, don't y'all remember? They're like, remember what? I was like, well, don't you remember when Mayor DeMint was the mayor? So yeah, and I was like, well, but do you remember what he called the fire chief? And they're like, no, well, he called him Mike. Do you remember the significance of that? The
No, I
deal
don't.
was he called him Mike. Well, Mike was the police chief. Sammy was the fire chief, but the
Ah,
mayor called the fire chief Mike. Anyway, so
eh,
it's a little bit of a joke. I mean, I know it's Blair, but I'm gonna call him Brad. It's a funny,
Brad.
just
Yeah.
like the same way we called uh, the current fire chief Zagoni.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, just,
Yeah.
we got our names, Ruttenbuck. We got to
Ruddenbuck.
pick. So I'm gonna call him Brad.
That's right. Trust me, I'm sure they call us a lot worse.
Yeah, his name is Brad to me. I mean, it can be Blair to y'all, but it's Brad to me.
Yeah. Oh, so I want to point out that you,
Whoa,
you,
Ryan Haygood going at the Masons right out of the gate,
well, I
saying,
don't,
"Did we pick another Mason?"
I don't know if he's
I
a
don't,
bricklayer or not.
I don't know if he knocks, a ring knocker or not or whatever. I would guess that he is, but I don't know that. I
Hmm.
really don't. You're not supposed to know.
Right. Okay. And Mr. Brookins wants to know who's in the CAO position. So we'll talk about some of that. Shall we do a break or shall we just kind of go straight into it?
Yeah, let's do a break so we can share a little bit, and we will go back. I mean, because here's the thing, we're trying to get a little bit of information out. I mean, look, it took the media a week to catch up, the mainstream media to catch up to us reporting the demand that was out. Now the mainstream media has confirmed it. And, look, we just want to make sure people are informed. So we probably need to share and advertise a little bit. Not that we make money and because we have to have real jobs. This doesn't make money. This doesn't pay the bills, but we want to make sure as many people know what's going on as possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, we need to share it out.
Sounds like a plan. Well, I'm going to go ahead and hit the magic button. And folks, y'all know what to do. We'll be back in about 2.5 or 3 minutes. Go make your popcorn, make your stiff drink, all that good stuff. And we will get straight into talking about whatever has happened in the last few days in Bossier. We will be right back.
Knew a lot of the back office on the politicians that they think walk on water, they would be shocked. There's an old wound from a knife in my back that just is giving me heck lately, and it's just really irritating, so I have to kind of wiggle around a little bit.
I titled it A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys.
Just, they feel helpless, they don't feel heard, they have nowhere to turn.
Some Republicans as well believe that government has the answers. And let me tell y'all something. I don't know anything government does well. Nothing.
Aren't there laws that say that you have public meetings so that the public can have accountability of their elected officials?
As a member of the media, I'm very concerned about what I've just heard.
Well, I'm not thinking Star Wars at all. I'm thinking zombie apocalypse. Oh, folks coming from the border down there?
Yeah, it's going to border. It's going to Mexico, the buses.
Doesn't mean they interpret it the same way that I do. For instance, the Second Amendment. I take it very literally. That's been interpreted different ways in the court system all the way up to SCOTUS. We're still right now combined on both pages and YouTube at 264 people watching. That is amazing, folks. Through conscious, shocking actions, which in turn would enrich sitting city council members Scott Irwin and David Montgomery Jr. In theory, it's an every week thing. We got to double check and make sure it's like a miracle any of this actually works.
This live broadcast is brought to you by the Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 25 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting. Reach out to Julie Ferris. Smarter Geek, making technology easier. And folks sharing information and watching out. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. Happenings. Let's see. Where else have I shared this out? Oh, and I need to make sure. I need to make sure to check with you or check with your lovely wife. It still is in business over 25 years, correct?
Well, no, that's incorrect because it's been longer than that. We're hitting 30 something.
But isn't that still over 25 years?
That'd be correct. Yeah, I mean, look, if
just giving you a hard time.
I know that. Hey, look, do you know that in the mortgage industry, this has been like the worst year in the history of being in the mortgage industry? This has been the worst.
So because
and
of
I thought
interest
last
rates
year
or
was, well, yeah, the interest rates are high and things like that. Now, look, if you were buying a house back, 80s, way back, interest rates were around what they are now, maybe even a little higher. And to people back then. Things were the way that it was. But I think today it's a totally different market. People are accustomed to low interest rates on the loans, and a lot of people are not moving. They're sitting tight. And obviously, Kara can speak more to this, but people aren't making moves and doing things. It's almost like what I was talking about earlier, that we're in a unique point in time. I mean, things are odd right now in finance across the board and everything, but everybody is being conservative. They're sitting tight. They're not moving. But I don't think interest rates may improve a little bit, but I don't think they're going to improve a lot. I think folks need to get accustomed to the fact that rates are where they're going to be for a long time, and it's not going to change. If you are considering moving in housing and things like that, you may be waiting a long time if you're waiting on the interest rates.
Yeah, and unfortunately, and look, I've said this even when we had liberal Democrats as president. The president has some influence over the economy, obviously, but you can't wave a magic wand and spread a little pixie dust and fix it, Democrat or Republican. And so while I think that many of the things Trump has done and the Trump administration have put us in the right direction, there's still going to be some pain before the gain, because we're having to try to turn the ship after we had 4 years of Trump, but we had 4 years of Biden and 8 years of Obama before that. And so trying to right that ship is not an easy process. And I'm no economist, so don't take advice from me.
Well, and let's face it, Trump's 4 years were not a productive 4 years. I will concede that. And it was not a productive 4 years because folks can agree or disagree about the deep state. I mean, and if you want to call me a conspiracy theorist, you want to call me what, I don't care. You can call me whatever you want to call me. It does not matter to me. But the reality is I believe that there is, in fact, this thing called the deep state. And it's, a group of people. Party affiliation has nothing to do with it. So long as they can keep all of us conservatives and all of you guys and folks, I mean, I don't do people on the left, do y'all take offense to conservatives calling you leftists? I don't know, but
are we rightists?
I'll say it. Yeah, whatever. The leftists, I mean, they like keeping all of us fighting each other while the deep state is busy making their moves. But in Trump was not successful in his first term, not because of the left blocking him, but the deep state. And that's both Republicans, that's Democrats, that's all of that other group of people blocking progress that helps people at the bottom. I mean,
well, and the deep state is there to enrich themselves. And so you're right. It's not really a left or a right thing. It's kind of the, I don't know, uniparty or whatever you want to call it. But it's all these people that are part of the bureaucracy and the machine of government that is churning out dollar signs to enrich themselves. And, that's not a conspiracy theory. That's actually the truth.
Right. Yeah. So, I think that what is happening, I mean, Trump in this second term and what the American people did by ensuring that he got in there. And, we joke about we voted for him because we knew that he was going to go in there. Not that we thought that he's the smartest tool in the shed, not that we thought he was the most moralistic person in the world. None of those things. We voted for him because we believed that he was going to be the guy that was going to go in and kick the tables over, and it didn't make a damn. His ego was going to just run over everything, and if anything got in his way, and it didn't matter what party, whatever, he was going to do it. And he's doing exactly that, in my opinion. And historically, it seems like every single time that benefits everybody. If you're on the low, I think everybody, you and I, and everybody watching the show, all of us, I think we're all on the low end of the totem pole. I think we benefit the most when government is disrupted or the deep state is disrupted from being able to do their business.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to, and it'll lead us into our discussion about the city council meeting here in a few minutes, but it kind of goes back to the premise of the show. You know, many times we have kind of branched out, and sometimes we do, like tonight, we'll kind of branch out into more nationalistic topics and federal topics and all that. And we've tried Louisiana Watch and all that. And we had some viewers, but we've always gone back to the Bossier Watch. And the important thing there is what we figured out is there's not much we can do, except help educate a few people on the national topics, but we can literally change our local government and start there from the bottom up, so to speak. And with the help of a whole lot of people, we've been able to accomplish that. And some of the results we've seen over the last several months at the city council meetings.
Yeah, and there's a different air in Bossier City. Somebody commented today to me. They said, hey, we don't see y'all every Tuesday. And, I said, well, it's been kind of slow in Bossier. Things really hadn't been happening a whole lot. It's been kind of quiet. And, and you and I kind of jokingly said to each other, so like, well, Bossier City may not be going to keep giving us content to be able to talk about. And, I think you said, well, maybe we need to, and we've jokingly said it on previous shows, maybe we need to focus on the police jury a little bit more. And,
well, we might get forced to focus on the police jury. We may have no choice, or we're going to ramble every show like we are tonight.
Well, you'll be happy to know at the council meeting today, I hopefully redirected that focus to the police jury a little bit today.
I noticed that.
You did notice. You noticed that? Okay.
I reviewed it prior to the show, watching, kind of getting ready. I noticed you were all slicked up, had your hair all spit shined, or your bald head, or whatever, and you were good to go.
You saw hair? Hair? Really?
I was trying to be nice.
That go. Okay.
Yeah, I was trying to be nice.
I like it.
Little peach fuzz up there.
Even Cliff Smith noticed that I cleaned up well.
Yeah, not bad. All right, so shall we go ahead and get into the city council meeting, and which will also lead into some of our topics, the data center, water from Bossier, and who's going to pay. Well, we've kind of already covered the national stuff, so why don't we go ahead and dive right into it? You ready?
Yeah, just real quick though, let's go back to national politics. I'm sorry, I'm gutting this a little bit, but I shared with you two links I shared with you three links, I think.
Okay,
I wanted to point these links out, and one of them was from Stephen Miller, and Stephen Miller works with President Trump in the White House. Especially if you're a leftist, you might not like Stephen Miller much at all. In fact, you probably don't like anything about Trump or anything on all of this, and this may just piss you completely off. But if this is true, and if this pisses you off, you might ought to go look in the mirror, and you might ought to kind of question yourself a little bit. So this particular post that Stephen Miller put out here, and it's talking about job data and jobs. I'm not talking about the total number, whether it's below average or above or what have you, but this particular statistic, and it's talking about all of the job growth that has happened in this year and the people who have gotten the jobs. That graph that you see there is native born people in the United States.
Oh, I thought we were talking about Native Americans, as in, the ones on the reservations and stuff.
No, Native Americans. I mean, that includes them.
Okay.
I would.
Okay.
Just making sure. Unless they identify as something else, but okay. But foreign-born and Native Americans. Native Americans. Look at that graph. I mean, I know you see don't miss what's happening right there, but you see that?
Yeah. Native born, them darn foreign born people.
So I don't care what party affiliation you are, whether you're Democrat, Republican, or whatever. If you were born here, if you're native here, that means you had the opportunity to do the job. The foreign born didn't get it. That's Trump. What do you think that graph looked like before Trump?
Well, that's kind of interesting. I'm sure it was would have had a little more green in it.
I'm thinking it had a lot more green in it, but that's what you got. I mean, that should be the way that it is in every administration, regardless of party. How did we get to a point to where we have to elect, some table turning guy like Donald Trump to get to this point? How does that happen?
Yeah, that's a very good question. All right, I'm going to click the next link, and let's look at the federal employment is now at the lowest level since 2019, down by 271,000 jobs. That's just amazing that it takes that many people to run. And I know it's even more than that, but that we can lose that many people in the federal government. And I don't know, do you feel affected by the loss of 271,000 federal jobs?
No, I absolutely don't. My life has not changed one single bit.
What about y'all in the audience? Let us know. Has your life been positively or negatively, or you just didn't even know about this loss of 271,000 federal employment jobs?
Now Val Baker says, and this goes with this chart here. Val Baker says, wondering if I'm still getting the $2,000 because Vice President Pence was putting out there saying that everybody is going to get. I mean, and I keep hearing it on different media outlets that everybody is going to get this massive tax break going into 2026. Or that they're going to get money back, and that the first time for who knows how long the deficit is going to go in the opposite direction. It's going to turn around and go backwards, and that's going to exponentially increase over time. I can't help but believe that that's not in part due to just what Trump promised he was going to do: decrease the size of the federal government. You see it right here in this chart in the federal employment, decreasing the number of federal employees. I mean, basically, he's cutting the leeches, off of the organism that is feeding off of it.
Hey, I'd like to point out what's significant right here about this cliff right here. And I hate to laugh about it because I'll say this. Now, during the government shutdown, which we all know really only shuts down, 25 or 30% of the government, whatever it is. The unfortunate thing is the military was not getting paid. So I think paging Mike Johnson, once you get through walking on water, maybe y'all should come up with some legislation that if there's another government shutdown, not only do you idiots in Congress continue to get paid, which I don't necessarily agree with, but more so, maybe our military, which is literally part of the Constitution, that whole protect the United States thing, maybe they should guarantee to be paid so that we wouldn't have to do things like Venmo our son money because he's not getting his paycheck to help him out. Now, granted, they did get paid back, but they still haven't been paid back everything yet.
Well, some people have that question. I have the question. I'm just wondering where Mike Johnson stands on Islam because, I hear that the Brown University guy shouted Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. I can't say it right, at the moment that he murdered those people up there. And
strange how it's quite familiar.
Yeah,
it seems to be a common theme.
It seems to be in vogue today to acknowledge the fact that we have this problem with radical Islam or Islam, and yet I can remember not long ago where Christians would hang out Christian brothers who called out Islam or said something that it was a problem or acknowledged it all, and even recruited, candidates against people who spoke out against that. I remember those times. That wasn't too long ago. So I'm really wondering where the Speaker of the House is on issues like that today.
I would agree. Now, I want to point out that Belinda Woolley says Trump found money to pay the military. My son did not miss a paycheck. Well, I'm glad your son didn't, Belinda, because mine's in the airborne out there at Fort Bragg, and he absolutely missed a couple of paychecks. Eventually, he did get caught up, but there are still some that have not been caught up. We literally had to help him out because, he had some bills to pay, didn't want to be late on them and all that. So not everybody got paid that's in the military, I can assure you. Anyway, but look, there's a whole lot of stuff that Mike Johnson and crew should be focusing on. And you're right. Not only was that guy apparently, Islamist supporter or whatever, there's that whole deal down in Australia, shooting the Jewish people at the beach down there. That's a religious thing. That's not an act of terrorism. It's a religious war. Do people not understand that yet?
No. I don't get to correct you that often. Okay, I don't get to correct you that often, but I'm going to have to correct you. You're saying religion. Mm-hmm. And there's a difference between religion and a political movement or an ideology to a form of government. And when you talk about, certain things, let me ask you a question. Is our form of government controlled by Christianity?
No, it is not.
That's right. But in Islam, is government controlled by the religion?
Yes, it is.
That's right. So there's a difference. Islam is a political movement. Christianity is not a political movement. There is a difference.
Well, there's that whole Christianity and the Pope owning the Vatican and all that. We can get into all that, but I'm going to tell you right now, this is the reason that we will never solve the terrorism problem. It is a never-ending battle because it is a religious war between the Arab people and the Jews, and then the rest of Western society. It's a religious war. They literally hate the Jews. They don't hate the Jews because they have a Jewish government. They hate the Jews because they're Jews. Period.
Well, that's right.
That's the reason they shout Allahu Akbar, not Allahu, our government is great. They shout Allahu Akbar.
But the bottom line is that, if you're a Christian, you stand with Israel. If you are non-denominational, you're going to allow a religion to come in and institute a form of government that's called Sharia law, which is going to throw homosexuals off of buildings and it is going to just start murdering you in the name of their religion off in the middle of the street. How many Christian assassinations and mass killings do you see? When was the last one? Can y'all name one? Anybody name the last time you saw a Christian go and commit mass genocide, killing a bunch of people? I'm all ears. But what kills me is that even in our community, this was not in our show notes and not where we were going to go, but what kills me is in our community, people will go inside our churches in Bossier Parish and they'll rail about Islam in the church, but when you walk outside of there, you're like quiet as a mouse.
Good point.
Quiet as a mouse. And do you stand behind anybody that's not quiet as a mouse? Nope. Nope. You sure not.
Right.
You sure not.
It's an interesting dynamic, and unfortunately, it's not one we can solve. And I'm glad to see that most of Trump's focus has been a little more over on this side of the hemisphere. Obviously, with dealing with issues through the Americas, and specifically the drug issues that he's been, taunting Venezuela with, and the rest of those countries down there south of the border. So we'll see. But I'm glad to see him focusing more on that than worrying. Not that we're not potentially going to take some action in other countries that have a lot of sand in them, but
well. Let me say this: how many Christians have to die for Mike Johnson to stand on the side of people speaking against Islam? How many?
He's
What's the number? What's the number you think, Rex?
Duke, he's the Speaker of the House now. He is elected.
I don't care.
He's third in line to be sitting at the resolute desk, and he has to represent all sorts of people. He can wear his Christianity on his sleeve if he wants, but he has to, represent all these people. Blah blah blah. Atheists, Islamists, people that believe in the flying spaghetti monster, all of that.
Yeah, okay.
You didn't know I was going to defend MJ tonight, did you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Folks, there was supposed to be a hint of sarcasm in my voice. I hope it came across. I'm usually pretty good at that, but I'm a little slow tonight.
Get us back on track, because I got to get my temperature down a little bit, and I'll bite my tongue. Go ahead.
All right, so let's do something interesting, which
you never know what'll happen when we've got no notes.
So I guess right. So I guess Mary Jane is popular with ages of 18 to 34. Who knew? I mean, who could have figured that out? I've been briefly paying attention to this. So what's the Trump stance on legalizing pot? I thought pot was not legal federally, but pretty much all the states were at least turning a blind eye to it. I mean, what the heck's the deal? I don't smoke pot.
Well, I don't either, and I don't know where Trump is on this or whatever, but I found this interesting. I came across this, and they're talking about the odds of what Trump will do before the end of his term regarding the legalization of marijuana. And I don't know where everybody else stands, but what I can tell you is, like in Louisiana, for example, there's a lot of people against legalization of marijuana, but there's a lot of people that are for it as well, too. I would say it's actually probably something to the tune of 50-50.
Right.
So I can tell you that, so we all have life experience, right? I have experience from working in different regions of the country. Case in point, in Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and that little area of the world up there in the oil field, as well as working around the area of Colorado, Rocky Mountain High. Hey, baby. Mm. So I can tell you that as an employer that had employees in the area up in Pennsylvania and in that area, I couldn't find employees up there. The reason I couldn't find that legal weed and stuff, I couldn't find employees because so much of the population up there was like hooked on this crap. And it was bad news. When we were working there, we had to ship all of our employees from here up to there.
Oh, good Lord.
And
well, look, it's like back in my boat building days back in the 90s, we never gave drug tests at the boat factory. Hell, we wouldn't have half our crew. I've had to go bail those guys out of jail so we could keep the production line going. And look, my stance on it is pretty simple. I've never smoked a joint in my life. Don't smoke pot, whatever. It doesn't bother me. I don't smoke, period. Cigarettes, I've smoked a couple of cigars in my entire life, so I just don't smoke, period. But I don't care one way or the other about pot. Now, heroin, stuff that's what I would classify as really dangerous. Yeah, I got a problem with that, but I don't really care one way or the other.
Well, I mean, I've got a lot of different positions on this and a lot of different feelings. I mean, I can come from a greedy position and I can say this from a greedy position, legalize that crap because all of the people that are going to get on this smoking marijuana and doing all that crap or whatever, I mean, that's less competition for me in business. I mean, because they're going to be predisposed to wanting to go do that crap.
Oh,
That gives me an advantage. That's not
I'm
right.
sure. I'm sure you are already aware, but you would be surprised at how many people smoke pot. I mean,
I know there's a
a
lot, but there's
lot.
also I know there's a lot, but I'm just saying
And to
there's
me,
a
it's no
consequence.
worse. It's no worse than smoking cigarettes and the nicotine and all that. Again, I don't smoke pot because I don't smoke, period. And I really don't drink that much anymore. I might have a couple of drinks every now and then. I don't really care one way or the other. But I don't know. Folks, what do you think
Well,
in the
look,
comments?
get after it. I don't care. I'm saying it gives me an edge. I'm good with that.
Now, one thing
Whatever.
I want to pivot to, but is related to this, if I remember right, in the big beautiful bill, I just hate saying that, which the only good thing I saw in that bill was the removal of the tax stamp from the NFA days. But didn't, correct me if I'm wrong, and Duke, you may know, or somebody in the comments, Sadow or somebody, but didn't the big beautiful bill disrupt the hemp industry again? Which
Well,
hemp is
I
not
don't
pot.
know. I don't, yeah, that's right. It's not. It has a measure of what is it, THC or whatever, a percentage of THC in there. And I'm all about the hemp thing and promotion of the hemp. In
Yeah.
fact, I
It
don't know
rivaled the
that in the
steel
law.
industry at one time in this country.
Yeah, the like that thing in plain dealing. I got to tell you, I can't tell you without all honesty that I wish they would have put a requirement in there that they accept hemp or something because we have a large farming community around here, whether people realize it or not, along the Red River, and hemp will grow readily within the Red River Valley. And maybe Trump stood in the way, as you were suggesting, because, what's one of the big places that are big on the marijuana? It's that old senator that should have been term limited a freaking long time ago up there in Kentucky, him and Rand Paul. So yeah, Trump, I don't think is real big on it. If those two guys weren't in the middle of this mix, Trump would be more favorable to the marijuana thing. But so long as they have their hands in the mix, I don't know where Trump's going to land on this.
Yeah, kind of interesting. Just to see where it all goes. And he can't legalize marijuana on his own. I mean, he can sign an executive order, but that really doesn't have a whole lot of legal weight to take an act of Congress to reclassify and all that, as Dee Dee and some other folks have said in the comments. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where Mikey Boy ends up on this issue if it comes before Congress. I just wish they would get constitutional carry or whatever passed at a federal level, do simple stuff. You guys control basically all three branches of government. I mean, the Supreme Court, SCOTUS is very 2A friendly for the last several years. Come on, people. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah. So look, I love doing our show because it motivates people to think. So I had somebody message me while we're in the middle of the show, and they said,
talking about pot.
Well, yeah, we're talking about pot, and they messaged me out of the blue. If a subdivision is going in on a property and the parish is voting to subdivide it, do they have to notify the public or people that live close?
We're talking about pot, and you get that question, but anyway, it's a good question,
No,
I guess.
look, I appreciate the question, and I'm glad that people feel, that I can answer that question and talk about it. I appreciate that or what have you. But man, this thing is weird, I mean, folks come from a different place, and they I guess it gets their juices to flowing and they start thinking about things, and to that question I said, it depends on the property zoning. I would assume that if the property zoning is already residential in that way, or if it's already zoned that way, that probably they don't have to.
Good question. Maybe we should reach out. Speaking of that, I went to Olive Garden for lunch today with my lovely bride, one of my good friends, and Patrick Jackson was sitting there. See, if I'd had that question earlier, I could have asked Patrick Jackson.
Well, did Patrick buy your lunch?
Heck no. He probably didn't even see me sitting over there, but I happened to notice him.
What?
Anyway.
Well, I did when I was at the city council meeting here today when I walked in. Now, I didn't notice when I walked in, I didn't notice him, but after I went and spoke and I came back to my seat, I did notice he was sitting back there, but that was after I threw the police jury under the bus.
Oh, yeah. Maybe you rushed up there. All right, shall we pivot over to the city council meeting?
Yeah, let's go there.
All right, now that we've talked about Trump and mentioned, the Middle East and done all that, let's pivot back over to the city council. Okay, so I'm going to start at about the 18-minute mark. This is where Phyllis reads the water ordinance. All right, here we go.
Adopt an ordinance authorizing Mayor Thomas H. Chandler to execute and negotiate a water services agreement for a project with an owner outside of the city's existing water service area. Final reading.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Councilman Cliff Smith, second by Councilwoman Ross. Is there any public comment?
Oh, hello, Miss.
Here.
Good afternoon, Ms. Boyer. State your
Hi.
name and address for the record, and there's a piece of paper if you'll write your name and address down when you're done.
Okay, sounds
ma'am.
good. All right, thanks. Alice Boyer, 5041 Highway 80,
Johnson.
Houghton, Louisiana. Yeah, I really kind of hate this. Everything's been so jovial. But, I have this little thing that's been kind of bothering me. I'd like to acknowledge that I think that there's been a lot of pressure on this council in reference to the passing of this ordinance. For an unknown corporate entity, I feel like it's a big crossroads for this council, and it's not all over with this one ordinance. This is a precedence being set, which is a little, concerning, because it seems like there's some uniformity and conformity that is being requested and expected, and cover is being provided with the passing of HB 461, sponsored by Shreveporter Stephen Jackson, and it was passed in 2024, which is what I assume y'all are utilizing. But, it's passed knowing that secrecy creates suspicion and thereby a lack of trust. And the crux of the matter for me, realizing, is that either road is going to be a hardship on this council. I think that it's going to be probably individually and collectively a problem. So, I just want to state that I have my condolences. Because many of y'all I have enthusiastically supported. And the weight of this decision ended up affecting a multitude of people that extend well past the borders of Bossier City, obviously. But only a few people are getting to decide this future. The last council would not have blinked, but this council ran on ideals that appealed to friends, family, local business owners. Many of these friends and families and businesses may end up feeling thrown under the economic development bus without any benefit from these negotiations, and having no knowledge or input in this, fabulous for the city endeavor. What is the cost to the community? No one can say.
So I think Miss Alice brings up a pretty good point, and again, to say it ad nauseum, I'm not against the data centers at all or whatever businesses, but I am against these darn NDAs. I'm not going to beat that dead horse again tonight, but she brings up a good point in that a lot of the city council people, the current city council, ran on basically a transparency campaign and being better than the last guys. And I understand that they feel that they had to sign the NDAs, to remain competitive, blah, blah, blah. But again, I would remind y'all, you didn't have to sign the NDAs. So anyway, she's got a point there. I'm going to jump forward to Miss Ruth. Go ahead,
well, wait a minute. I want to go there. You are correct. I mean, nobody has to agree to sign the NDAs. That's absolutely correct. Can they legally sign the NDAs? Yes, they can. Just like she pointed out. I mean, that there's nothing wrong about that. There's nothing illegal about that. There's nothing whatsoever. But is there a time that, I mean, if the company, demands it to talk to you? I mean, so we elect somebody to represent us, and that representative, a company approaches and they say, we want to talk to you about a business development within your jurisdiction. And the elected official says, okay, sound great. Look, I'm all about trying to help our community. And they say, but before we can talk to you, you can't talk about it because we don't want to lose position. So what do you guys, as the citizens, what do you want your elected official to do? Do you want them to say, oh, no, you know what? I can't do that. Or do you want them to consider whatever it is the business people are proposing, or to listen or to hear it? But to hear it, they got to sign the NDA.
Well, yeah. All right. So along that line, let me introduce a counterpoint to my own position, which is basically, I think, Duke, what you're alluding to. What would everybody say if the council, let's say the council stood on their righteousness, we're not signing NDAs, and the business up and left and went across the river or went across the state border? Then what would we all say? Oh, well, y'all just aren't trying to get businesses and jobs in here, and we got to promote the growth of Bossier City, blah, blah, blah. So it is a double-edged sword. I would say wholeheartedly, if the reason that the business left was because our elected officials using our public tax dollars refused to sign an NDA, I would be in full support of our elected officials and the business going elsewhere. However, that is not the stance of everybody, but it is the stance of a lot of people, as we've seen through commentary and emails and text messages and everything that transpires.
Well, being that I am a Rhodes Scholar of Stupidville in regards to politics, what I would have done is I would have said, hey, you know what? Let me think about that. That's a tough decision. I'm going to have to get back with you a little bit on that one. And then I would go back and I would say to my colleagues, hey, they want me to sign this NDA or else I can't know what's going on. So why don't y'all go sign that NDA? And then why don't you come back and a secret handshake and you tell me what's going on? And we'll go from there. Politics works two ways, right?
It could, but those others that sign that NDA, they're not even supposed to tell the other council member. Yeah, look, I get it.
But everybody threw in. I mean, just somebody hold out.
Without even questioning. All our new city council, I bet you they couldn't get their pens out fast enough to sign the NDA. Shame on you guys.
Look, somebody be the turd in the toilet, and you just be that person.
Paging Brian Hammonds, you would have been a prime candidate to be this lone holdout on this deal. You could stand up there and be righteous at that city council and say you refuse to sign the NDA, and we'd all support you when you run for mayor. It'd just be a shoe-in. Anyway.
Well, look. Word on the street is that he's running for city marshal. So I think mayor's out. But
dang it, darn it.
Who knows? I mean, he runs for marshal, and then from the marshal's office, he can run for mayor.
Well, I guess he could do that. I don't know. We'll see. He'd make a good marshal too. I support Brian in pretty much any endeavor he tried to do.
He's got law enforcement background.
Does he really?
Yeah, he does.
Oh, how so?
He was down there. He was a commissioned officer in Bossier City, Popo.
Oh, was he?
I mean, yeah.
I learned something new tonight.
Well, I mean, I don't know all the details, but what I do know is when I was a reserve officer and I had my commission, I remember him being down there, and I remember him going out on doing patrols and doing all that stuff. Now, I don't know if he's wanting to be the mayor, hell, I'm not so sure that the marshal's job doesn't pay more than the mayor's job.
It might. We'd have to go back and look, because didn't they give the marshal a raise? Huh. Maybe he should be a city attorney. Well, I guess he's got to be a lawyer to do that.
Oh, yeah. He can't take that downgrade. I mean, look, if y'all want Brian Hammonds to be the city marshal, y'all need to email him and encourage him to run for city marshal. I think he would be a good. I mean, look, that guy, he ain't scared of nothing.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll see how this plays out. All right, so let's get back to the meeting. No notes makes us bounce around, folks. Yes. All right, so that was Miss Alice. Let's see what Miss Ruth has to say for a second. And then we're going to get to that little bald-headed guy with a little peach fuzz and the glasses on. You look pretty intelligent there, in your, well, that's not really a seersucker suit, but in your little dress-up
clothes. Who is that guy?
I don't know. I mean,
that's the only guy in the audience with a suit and tie.
Here we go.
That's that dapper-looking fella.
You bent it down, Alice. That's what happened. Bossier City appears to be working toward implementing a water economy with the future goal of servicing the entirety of Bossier Parish, which will alter the current water service area. All the information I'm presenting came online and whatnot. Even as we prepare to take on a client outside the current WSA. If we take on Bossier Parish, it more than doubles the population base dependent upon Bossier Water, or when we do that, and I know that that's not immediate. From 63,000 to 131,000. Our current capacity is 50 million gallons per day, and our current expenditure of water resources is at 34.1 million GPD. This does not include the contracted 5 million gallons per day for the port, nor the 13.5 million gallons per day for the unnamed client. Even without including the build-out for Bossier Parish Water Service, that puts us at 6 million gallons per day, or beyond our stated capacity of water through.
You got to stop. I'm sorry, Ruth. There is an offense in the comments to me personally here.
Well, wait a minute. I was going to play that. I was going to show that comment when you walked up there because it has some merit. I'm just saying.
It does. This has nothing to do with what Ruth is saying, but Horatio Brookins has crossed the line, and he compared me to Settle without the hat.
All right, so
and I don't think I can let that go.
So let's jump up there and let's put Horatio's comment up. Looks like Settle without the hat.
Damn,
What say y'all, Bossier Watchers?
What the heck? Are you kidding me?
Did somebody mention a Zamboni while you were up there?
It took John Settle 1 week to get to the Amanda was leaving thing.
And Duke published that out days and days and days before all that.
Oh, come on, Horatio. You can't beat me down I like my friend John Settle, but man, I don't know about that one. Dadgum. I'm gonna have to go back to wearing oil-stained clothes and all that stuff, but all right.
Yeah, and apologies to Miss Ruth, but she was reciting some of the numbers on the water issue because that obviously seems to be the number one thing, especially considering this ordinance that would be supplying water to a purported data center. So let's see.
And I want to come back to that because I want you to
Okay.
play my comments, and then we'll come back to Miss Ruth's, comments, and we'll talk about those numbers a little bit. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, and Ruttenbuck also clarifies some numbers too, so we need to play that part here in a minute too. All right, here we go. Let's listen to that sharp-dressed guy with the smart glasses on.
It's on the piece of paper.
Hello, Duke Lowrie, 1017 Benton Road. Two questions and then a comment. The first question, doesn't this ordinance say at the end of the ordinance that it won't cost the citizens any more money for development of this?
Correct.
Isn't that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The second point regarding this particular project, as far as this council and making any decisions regarding tax abatement or things of that nature, y'all aren't doing that. That's the police jury, correct?
There's not a project inside Bossier City limits that we would have control over.
So that would be no. Correct. Right. Okay. With that being said, I mean, I support this council and they're, looking into this issue. I think that, I trust that you guys are doing, your due diligence on looking at this. I think that there's been plenty of support, and information that's put out. I think we have the ability to produce the water to support this project, and for me individually, I support y'all moving forward with this. I just wanted to get that on the record.
Thank you, Mr. Lowrie.
What?
Look so nice.
Is there any other public comment?
What did he say?
Something
They
about
were taking shots at me.
No, they said you actually looked nice. Well, they might
It's as
not have
if
said
they
it in
think
those
I can't
words,
look nice. What do you mean? I can't dress up?
I hope in the new facilities that they're going to do this in, they've got the lighting altered different. I'm about to get blinded off that reflection right there. Just saying.
I'm feeling like what Rodney Dangerfield here. I mean, good grief.
No respect.
The beatings will continue until you submit. I mean,
That's
I guess whatever.
You
If I didn't know y'all was friends, I would wonder.
Yeah, the Rodney Dangerfield from Caddyshack days. All right. So let's do a little comparison. Do we want to listen to Ruttenbuck, or let's do a little comparison of the numbers, or how do you want to play this? Because you were there.
Well, yeah. Well. Listen. So was that man a flirt? What?
No. Was that a man flirt?
What the heck is he talking about? Is he trying to say I'm gay? What the heck is he saying?
I don't know.
Look, I adopted chickens that were evacuated from Bossier so they didn't get, cut down by the beaks of Bossier City Animal Control. I mean, how could I be a flirt? I mean, maybe I'm missing the point. I don't know.
All right, so back to the numbers.
Yes. Okay, back. Yeah.
Right.
So look, I'm not saying that Ruth is wrong in her assessment of numbers and numbers that have been articulated. Honestly, I haven't went back and assessed all of the complete statements, but what I do know is that I do think that Bossier City has the capacity to support the water needs as needed. But more importantly, I go back to this ordinance, to this particular ordinance, and I don't care what Ruttenbuck says, and I don't say this disrespect. I'm not saying it disrespectfully to Ruttenbuck, but I'm not saying it disrespectfully to Miss Ruth either. But the ordinance says, if I read it correctly, and I said it so that the council would repeat it back to me, and I asked the question, I said, does this ordinance basically not say that this company, whoever it may be, is going to, bear the cost of the water? To which he replied, yes, they would. So if to supply that water, Sydney, y'all work with me here, because I had this discussion with somebody else because they questioned me after this meeting. And I said, well, if my understanding is correct, if this ordinance says that the company will bear the cost for the water that they take, if, say, the demand for Bossier City increases such that the residential take is everything that Bossier City can produce, and then Bossier City needs to produce more than what the residential, consumes, and the company would then be required to support it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Well, in other words, let's say it's a data center, or it doesn't matter if it's a peanut factory, and they have put a demand on the Bossier City water system. Then they are responsible for bearing that cost if the system has to be upgraded to keep up with the demand, which
Correct.
arguably could be good for the entire city or the consumers of Bossier City water. The argument can be made for that.
Exactly. So by my reading, and I could be wrong. I mean, look, I'm just a bald guy with glasses that will occasionally wear a suit and look good, according to David Crockett. But the point being is that if they need more water than what Bossier City can supply to maintain the residential, the company is responsible for the cost, not the citizens. The company will bear the cost. That's good for the citizens of Bossier. That is a hell of a deal. That solidifies you not having to bear any more cost. So after clarification from the council, which they're not bound by an NDA to not acknowledge that. We got confirmation on that. It's a no-brainer from that point. It doesn't make a crap whether all of our production from the city of Bossier currently is consumed by existing requirements. Any requirements over that, whoever this company is, they'll have to pay for that.
Well, and more to me, maybe more importantly, was your second question and point, which was that this is not going to require any tax incentives or subsidies, whatever, from the city itself. That would be coming from the parish, right?
Well, right. But before we go there, let's finish up on this one particular point. I want to point out to you guys, especially if you're a citizen of Bossier City, and additionally, so what was the big thing in Benton regarding water? Recently, there was a big debate in Benton about water for residential. What was that?
Cost increase from the city.
That's right. The city of Benton was, I'm just going to say it this way for those of you with soft ears, hold your hands over your ears. Everybody was bitching in Benton about the increases that were passed on from the city of Bossier. Well, the city of Bossier, by doing this deal, you got to understand the commercial rate outside the city is 3 times what it is inside the city limits. So if the quantity of water that this data center will pay is 3 times what it is inside the city limits, I mean, ultimately, I think maybe everybody may be able to see a decrease in this. So I'm not, and nobody has told me that.
Wait a minute. Did somebody invite David Montgomery to this show? Is he like standing behind you, Duke? We just can't see him on camera?
No, look.
Okay.
I'm just telling you that if this goes the way it's allegedly going, I think it could be beneficial for the whole parish, not just Bossier City, but at a minimum, the citizens of Bossier. I would be shocked if Bossier City ever saw a rate increase. And you're saying, well, I remember us having the debate talking about the port and the water deal. And you might say, well, I remember where you stood, Duke, on that you were like, that's a bunch of pipe dreams. Totally different deal. We're not comparing apples to oranges at all. I mean, this is a guaranteed amount of water that they're taking. That's not. There's no guarantees on that down there with the port.
Well,
Zero,
that may
none,
be
nada.
true. That may be true, but if you think that the government is going to decrease their rates because of this, I need to check your coffee cup.
Look, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm not saying that at all. And I
Wait a
agree with
minute.
you.
If I had a
I
replay
agree
button
with
on
you.
this software, that's the one thing the software needs is a replay. I could go back because I think you did say we may see an increase. I'm paraphrasing. We'll have to go back and double check. I'm going to play that one incessantly.
Well,
If you
I may have misspoke on the increase, but look,
Yes.
somebody called me after that council meeting this afternoon, and they said, well, look, people, people are messaging me. So
Wonder why.
yeah, so I got to try to keep up here. People were saying, like, look, this is all about big government and all that stuff. Says they're trying to get like a parish-wide monopoly on the water, and I'm like, what? And I go back to remember when you and I, and we've got it in our database somewhere, but remember when we went and chased all the water stuff, and I think we briefly talked about it in the last show, but I had to repeat that again today. And there was, and I don't remember how many years, y'all can't quote me on this exactly, but maybe 20 to 30 years ago, there was a joint study done in Northwest Louisiana. It encompassed Caddo, Bossier, Webster, all of Northwest Louisiana. And the study was in regards to water needs for all the communities to try to expand in Northwest Louisiana and to make things. And I think it was about a unified water district. They identified that the Red River was the only water source that could supply enough water, for all of the different entities or what have you. Now, and there was that study offered propositions of what needed to happen to make that thing come to fruition and what needed to be done. And I think ultimately that the differences in Caddo politics and Bossier politics, there was a divide at that time, I think, that probably limited or prevented that from moving forward. But in Bossier, it was a little bit of a different, it was more of looking at it from the standpoint of Bossier needed to just tend to Bossier. And Bossier already took water out of the river. We already did that. But Bossier Parish and down to another level, there was a divide between Bossier City and even Bossier Parish at that time. So you had, and we mentioned in the previous show, the Sparta Aquifer. We were talking about the Monroe data centers and the fact the Monroe data centers are putting in wells to support the water needs of the Monroe data center. And we questioned during that time whether or not that would be tapping the Sparta Aquifer, which the Sparta Aquifer is part of Bossier. And in fact, Jeff Sadow confirmed that, yes, that indeed is in the Sparta Aquifer over there. So if you run back to the days of Coach Montgomery, James Smith, when they were in the legislature, the Sparta Aquifer was decreasing by a foot every year. And in fact, the Louisiana legislature and the state government saw it as an emergency deal. They had to institute this thing to regulate wells and the amount of water that was coming out of the Sparta Aquifer because it was being depleted so fast. And the statistic, I can find the article and I specifically remember it. They were talking about at that time the water that was being taken out of the Sparta Aquifer, and this would have been 20 years ago, so that would have been around 2000, I guess, or something, was water that rained during the Civil War. to put that in perspective. So to me, that impressed upon me that utilizing well water for, high volume water needs was not a solution. Surface water sources is the only way to go. But fast forward to today, we've covered the Bossier Parish police jury trying to take over the water systems. We talked about off of Bellevue Road, what was the water system out there, and some of the calamities that have happened regarding all of that. I think collectively, I don't think that Bossier Parish government and Bossier City government have colluded to try to take over these water systems and trying to get it all collectively into one big lump sum. I mean, I think that people that think that are giving, and I don't mean this as a negative to our politicians of today, but I think you're giving them too much credit for, I hate to say collusion, but look, they're not working that hard to do that. At the police jury level, does the police jury, recognize that the water thing long term is a problem and working towards it? Yeah, I think so. And the more of those that they can collectively harness and get all into one thing, does it bring you closer to being able to manage it all better? Yeah, I think that's their thinking. Is it wise? I don't know. Long term, will it work out to everybody's benefit? Maybe so. But the bottom line is I think Bossier City, tell me to shut up at any time, by all means. And all of y'all watching, I mean, there's 60 of y'all watching. By all means, say, shut up, Duke.
I'm enjoying the soliloquy. Go right ahead.
Well, look, I'm just spitting out of my head here. And by all means, if you're a politician and you're a principal in all of this, say, Duke, you're off base. That's fine.
I don't think it's like Patrick Jackson and Charles Jacobs and the new CAO Richard Ray, CAO to be Richard Ray, are, doing backroom deals to collude about the water. I don't know if the city council, I would put more faith in them, or the police jury has the foresight that they think that the Red River is always going to supply plenty of water, and hopefully it will be. But as we've seen with, recent events like the Colorado River, I mean, granted, that's a real outlier and a whole other conversation. But we've seen it with the water demand in Texas, where basically all the reservoirs in Texas feed Dallas and the Metroplex and all that. The demand for water, we have plenty of it around here right now, but the demand for water is basically the new oil. And look, I think we've got plenty of water capacity here. We've got plenty of excess capacity right now. I think that the city could easily supply a data center or a peanut factory or whatever they're going to build up there that they're under an NDA about. But then again, what if 3 or 4 data centers come in?
Well, some people still think, and I haven't looked at their data. There's some people that have shared me some data to show and to say that Bossier is not being transparent, that they can't supply the data, and they stand by their numbers even after today. And I haven't had a chance to review any of that. And, look,
I know you don't want to, but let's listen to Ruttenbuck on the water capacity, just so it's on the record.
Okay.
Here we go.
And I know he's got this off the top of his head. What is our daily water consumption?
Average daily flow in Bossier City is around 13 million gallons per day.
Okay.
In capacity?
Right now, we are not supplying 5 million a day to the port, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. All right. And we are not, if this so-called project moves forward, it is not supplying water to all of Bossier Parish.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
And our maximum capacity is around 50 million gallons per day. And that 13 million average, that's us city limits, what we serve out into the parish, Benton, CBB, Barksdale Air Force Base, all of those customers?
Roughly 80,000 people plus the base.
Okay, and then, and so we're at 13, and this project were to have its max capacity of 13, I mean, that still puts us at 26, with a 50 is our kind of max. So
Right.
we still got a long ways to go before we get.
And even if they supplied the port with another 5, so it'd be 13 and 13 and 26 and 31 million gallons per day by just some quick math, and the capacity is theoretically 50 million. My math right?
Well, there's a variable in there, if they get that new process going that they had talked about before, the 50 million will jump to 60 million, in which I don't know why Ruttenbuck didn't say that, but
yeah, so we got even more capacity. So we could support, theoretically, we could support 2 data centers fairly easily.
But on the same hand, Ruttenbuck doesn't represent the city. He represents Wagner or Manchac. Oh, wait a minute. No, he represents the port. Or, well, wait a minute. Does he represent both? No, he represents. Who the hell does he represent?
Yeah, but here's the thing. I mean, I don't think he's sitting up there lying about the numbers. I mean, he's probably rounding them off. I'm sure he is. But I don't think he's lying about those numbers. Seriously, why would he? To what benefit would it be to Ruttenbuck to lie about those numbers? That would be the question.
Well, continuing to be in control of everything, because currently he's in control. He's in control of everything. But if something goes sideways, bam, overnight they're not in control.
And what would go sideways would be he lied about the numbers and they didn't have the capacity. So again, I go back to, if he wants to retain control and power in the company that he works for, what good does it really do to them to lie about capacity when that can actually be checked?
Yeah, I agree with that.
I know it's a strange moment when I'm seeming to defend Ruttenbuck. I just don't see the motive for him to lie about the water capacity numbers and it be some secret cabal between him and Patrick Jackson and stupid Doug Rimmer from the police jury.
With that, I go back to this one point with this council, in that this ordinance says that this company, whoever it may be, will bear the cost of the water that they get.
Yes. All right. And hold that thought, and you're 100% on point. D.D. White Clark says, are they also including water usage during winter when faucets have to be dripped? What about when a fire happens and water is to be used? I'm sure that 13 millions is a rolling average. Do you happen to remember when y'all go put out an average house fire, approximately how many gallons of water a fire truck or fire department would use on, say, an average 3-bedroom dwelling? 100,000 gallons? I don't know. I have no idea.
Look, I graduated from Halton, and in Halton they said there's no such thing as math. I mean, but I can tell you it gets into the cubic feet of the house towards the number of gallons that it takes to extinguish a house. So you can't look at it that way, because it has all changed.
All right, how much water does the average fire truck get? How much water
they
does
don't
it hold?
They don't measure it. I literally saw a service truck today flowing a fire plug, and they weren't measuring the number of gallons that were flowing out of the fire plug. That goes into a total number. I mean, it's kind of like ducks and harvest of ducks and the number of ducks that migrate or whatever. It's not a number that you can it's just a number to appease everybody that you have a number. I mean, you can't really count on it.
I'll just look. I have zero idea, D.D. White Clark, but let's just assume they used 100,000 gallons of water to put out a house fire, which I think would probably be excessive unless it was a large house. I really don't know. Have zero clue. I'm just picking a number out of my rear end. That means that you could do 10 house fires for only 1 million gallons. We're still a long way from capacity. A long way.
Yeah. Bottom line, I mean, Ruttenbuck's going to say, no matter what, Ruttenbuck's going to say we got plenty of water. So I think you can dismiss him out of the equation. Have up to this point, has everything that Bossier City's been doing is moving towards a direction to produce more water? Yeah. And the reason it is because Ruttenbuck and Manchac, they want to do that. They want to be in the business of water. They've known that. I mean, that means more money for their company. So is the possibility of being able to produce more water there? Yeah, 100%. They're about business. So does it make sense that we can produce enough water to support this? I can tell you what, that freaking guy is going to make sure we can produce that amount of water.
Yeah, because it's good for their business. Look, to me, he would be, if there was some kind of nefarious thinking going on, he would be more likely to say, well, guys, I'm really not sure if we have enough capacity. Wait, maybe y'all need to pay us more to engineer more water capacity. That would benefit Ruttenbuck, not saying, oh, we got excess capacity to the hilt. And I was way off on my numbers about the average amount of gallons to put out a house fire. Probably going to be less than 10,000 gallons. Average.
Yeah.
Small house fire. So anyway.
Bottom line is I hang my hat and I went out there and I said, I support you voting for this. I support it because of the language in the ordinance that says whoever this company is going to bear the cost. And if you're a Bossier City citizen, that should be enough. If the company is going to bear the cost of what they consume, then you're off the hook. That's all that matters here. Yeah. Now, the second point, and we hadn't even got to that, the tax abatement. Now, I wanted to make sure and clarify that. The city council in Bossier, because we focus on that, and unfortunately, our focus on the city of Bossier makes people focus more on that. That's not where you need to be focused. Your focus should be on the police jury, because it will be the police jury who is giving the tax breaks or not the tax breaks to whoever this company is up there north of Benton. It won't be the city limits of Benton. And I want to point out to you too, I did a little work, Rex, and you and I haven't talked about this. This will be news to you as well too. As I appreciate it, none of the people in government in Benton have NDAs. And none of the people in Benton have been even consulted on the matter of the data center.
Is it in Benton town or city limits?
No, sir, it's not. It is outside the city limits.
Well, the heck with them, because they ain't supplying water. They ain't supplying anything.
Well, this completely falls at the feet of the police jury. So if anything goes sideways really on this deal, I think Bossier City has themselves protected really well, and the citizens of Bossier City, your council, I think, has done a good job for you. The only questions is whether or not the police jury has done all of the citizens of Bossier Parish, which includes Bossier City citizens, if they've, done your bidding correctly. And I can't answer that. I don't know.
I don't know. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. And it's going to be interesting because we've had some mention of Greenwood in the comments. It's going to be interesting to see how the data center plays out on the Shreveport side. And if that is the same company and the same data center or a second data center that's playing out over here that's going to be north of Benton. And it'll also be interesting. So Bossier City, well, I guess Bossier City could threaten to cut Benton off. But it's kind of interesting to me that Bossier City is going to have to send the water north of Benton, so they're going to have to go through Benton with the water line or come off of Benton. Anyway, we'll see how this all plays out. All right. So the last point that I want to make is there was some scuttlebutt that Miss Carol Anderson, I believe is her name, might be in line for the CAO position. Well, they just moved her to city project manager, I guess. Did you hear about that? I guess she is currently the Civic Center executive director or whatever the official title is. Did you see all that?
Yeah, yeah, she was, and I think that today, as a matter of fact, I was there. They voted and made her special projects, whatever. And I got to tell you, I heard the explanation. You'd have to go back, and I heard Amanda explaining what exactly that was. And honestly, I still don't know what the hell she's going to be doing after listening to it.
I really don't either. So here we go. Let's listen to it for a second.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that we're gonna approve this. So are y'all gonna be having to hire another person for the Civic Center?
That is one of the conversations we definitely would like to have. We included that in the budget, and so yes, there will be a need for a person dedicated exclusively to the Civic Center.
What about, I mean, these are just questions I have to have. It is nothing against Miss Anderson. What about the salary that she is already making right now for the Civic Center?
That everything will come out of general fund, so nothing will be from Civic Center.
Okay. I mean, that salary will be, she will be getting the project coordinator salary,
Correct.
but she will not be getting Civic Center salary and that salary together.
No, sir.
Okay.
And then we included in the budget for the Civic Center the maximum, so we included to hire an executive director, and so that is all in the 2026 budget that was approved, but none of that money, that's all separate and apart. Everything will come from the public affairs.
Okay, so they're playing hopscotch with the position. So Sadal says that Nottingham was in the same position just before she got launched to CAO. Just before that, she was the executive assistant to Dodie Horton, or legislative assistant. Stand corrected. This was interesting here, though. Listen to Joel Gerard's question.
For it? Do you have an insight of where you want to go or a vision of what you want to take
Well,
over?
I believe that job description outlined 3 really big ones.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I like this position to be that when you have a project or there's things that I can be a liaison or point, you can say, hey, where are we on this? There's a lot of things that happen, and then it's like someone in the mayor's office, they're just scrambling.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to have somebody that you can. So
Did y'all catch that? There's somebody in the mayor's office and they're scrambling. Yes, yes, they scramble a lot, especially about parking lots and Red Rover kennels and what else? Oh, motels where they kick people out. They do a lot of scrambling around that. I just couldn't resist the jab. All right, here she goes.
Anything you need.
I love it.
You can help with our next movie night.
Yeah. Yes, Mary.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so that's potentially, she's the new project coordinator, project manager, whatever. They're going to have to get somebody else to direct the Civic Center. And potentially this is the stepping stone when Amanda leaves in January to elevate her possibly to CAO. Now, I got to tell y'all folks, before we get out of here tonight, my vote is I want Richard Ray as the CAO. I really, 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 truly do. What say you, Mr. Lowrie? Who's your vote for?
Well, are we betting?
No, we're not betting. I'm just wishing. I mean, we got to have some more content to talk about, and Richard Ray would just provide an endless amount of barbs and jabs that we could throw at him as CAO.
Well, I'm not wishing anybody to be the CAO. Maybe Shane Cheatham. I may be wishing Shane Cheatham would be the CAO. And the only reason
that
is
would
to watch.
Be hilarious.
The only reason is to have to watch Tommy have to go through that. But I'm not wishing anybody, but I can tell you after today, I don't think that Miss Carol, I don't know Miss Carol. She seems like a wonderful person. I don't think Miss Carol is going to be the CAO. I don't know who is going to be the CAO. But I don't think it's going to be Miss Carroll. If Miss Carroll is going to be CAO, there would have been a better articulation of what her current position is going to be. And I didn't hear it today. The same as Mr. Corbin with SWEPCO, he did not articulate the position of SWEPCO effectively at the Shreveport City Council meeting, and by default, now Amanda Nottingham is getting a bump up, and she's going to go over there and try to bail that out.
Ooh, here's a good one. Bring Queen Monty back as that may be a better suggestion than Richard Ray. We need to make T-shirts for this.
Well, but here's the constant. Now that Amanda is out, I would suspect that Richard and Charles have control of who Tommy's going to appoint to be the next CAO. So look at it from the sphere of who is it that Richard and Charles would want to be the CAO. I mean, that's who Tommy's going to pick.
Well, look, Val Baker brings up a good comment. Can't they put out there for a CAO person outside the city? Well, sure they could. They could advertise a position, but I mean, they ain't never done it before. What's going to make them start now?
Well, ironically, I want to go down a road of one particular thing, and I want to point this out to folks. Do you know what day Brad Zagone's last day is?
Would it be the same day that Amanda's leaving? Or close to
ding, 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 ding.
Fireman to CAO.
But allegedly, well, I'm not going to go no further. I'm just going to say, but apparently those dates line up. Brad Zagone's leaving the fire department and retiring with a salary of $166,655.92 as his final pay, as I am told. That's pretty stout.
Could be interesting. So your lovely bride says she's late getting here. You are kidding that Richard Ray is a possibility. That's laughable. He would have to give up his private practice plus his assistant DA's position and whatever else he's got his grubby little fingers in. I'm not kidding about it. I think it's a viable possibility. It would be great for our show. I'm not saying he's going to be appointed CAO, but he's got my vote.
Look, one of the rumors, and I don't know if it was Jeff Sadow or somebody, Jeff may have posted in his piece today. I think it was put out today or maybe yesterday. Chris Smith, Brian Hammonds, Joel Gerard were mentioned as possibles. Well, that's a non-starter. They can't. So as you recall, and I'll make this point, Shane Cheatham was put up to potentially be the CAO. Well, there's a difference between that and between Chris Smith, Brian Hammonds, and Joel Gerard. They have been elected and have been sworn in their positions. And Shane had not been sworn in yet. So Shane, because he didn't take the position, met the qualifications to be the CAO at that time. Whereas Chris, Brian, and Joel, they couldn't do that because once you've been an elected officer, you have a season period of about, I think it's 2 years, that you can't take a position like that. You have to be out of politics and not connected to the government body to be able to take a position like that. So that's a non-starter. Those guys aren't even, they're not even in the hunt.
Yeah. All right. It'll be interesting to see who is in the hunt once we get closer to this. Oh, one last thing. Let me switch back real quick and we'll start kind of wrapping this up. One last thing is Mr. Hammonds tells us about the last meeting of the year. Here we go.
Quick on the announcements front, as we've announced previously, this will be the very last meeting in this room until further notice. Our next regular council meeting will not be until January 6th, so this is our last meeting of the year. We will be meeting in the city courtroom, so on the other side of the building. It's going to be tighter quarters, probably not going to be the best audio visual, and so we're just going to talk loud and make the best of what we got, but we'll be back in here before you know it. On another topic, I am going to point Miss Nottingham out, and I know she didn't want me to, but I didn't have enough time to get you a plaque made because I didn't find out in enough time, but certainly I've worked with you for the last 4 years. It's been an honor to work with you. You've been a bright spot.
Rumor is he found out from us.
In some rough days that we've had over the last 4 years.
Isn't that hilarious?
I got a message. It's like, what the hell? Do you not? How the hell do you know things before I know things?
That's hilarious. All right, Mr. Lowrie, anything else you want to share with our good audience tonight?
Oh, pardon me. Oh, no, I just, my text messages blowing up from people sending me. Look, I apologize in the middle of a show. I can't cover everything and that you send me. I'll look at it, and I mean, you'll... I try to get to it by the next show, but it always works out that there's something else pops up by the next show, and we don't get to talk about it, but I'll do my best to focus on it. Somebody sent me a graph with countless numbers, and I just looking at it, I can't make anything out of it and try to focus on talking to all of y'all at the same time.
Yeah. Send us emails, bossierwatch@gmail or bossierwatch@protonmail if you have topics and we have to have time to do a little bit of research. I mean, as it is, we come sliding in, the home plate at the last minute. So you got to give us a little bit of time. Miss Jerry has a question. She says, so they got remodel money for the city chamber. Yes, they did. I can't remember what show we talked about it or which meeting it was, but it was a little while back. They did discuss the appropriations for all this. Yes, they did. All right. Anything else, Mr. Lowrie?
That's all I got. Look, hey, I'm standing with the data centers. I think we need to go with it. I think that is going to blow Bossier wide open. I think we can make the water. The only variable is Amanda going to raise our electric bills?
Oh, that's right. She'll have a little bit of direct input in that process.
Amanda, are you going to raise our electric bills?
We're going to blame it on you if they go up. Either way, you're getting the blame on that.
I want to know, Amanda.
We need the heads up. All right, Mr. Lowrie, I'm going to hit the finish button in just a second. We want to let everybody know thank you very much for staying with us and watching us all these shows, even when we don't have a lot to talk about, even when we skip sometimes to Thursdays and come back on Tuesday and blah, blah, and post stuff at the last minute. We appreciate each and every one of y'all watching. If you have any information you want to send us, Bossier Watch at Proton Mail. If you want to keep it top super secret, Bossier Watch at Gmail. If you don't really care. And that's about all I got.
City marshal and city judges race next year. It'll be on the same ballot when the U.S. Senator for Louisiana race is. So if any aspiring candidates for city judge or city marshal, if you're going to run, you need to be thinking about it, getting it ready.
And don't forget, we'll have T-shirts ready. Richard Ray for CAO. See y'all later.
Good night.